This video looks at trimming your kite correctly. A trim system simply changes the relative lengths of the steering lines compared to the center lines. Steering trim systems do this by adjusting the length of the steering lines directly. And centerline trim systems do this by adjusting the length of the center lines. Making the steering lines relatively longer, like this, is known as depowering, since it can help take away steering tension. Making the steering lines relatively shorter, like this, is known as powering up, since it can help further tension the steering lines. Now let's look at setting your trim correctly. Firstly, place the stopper so that the bar is easily in reach of both arms, so that you don't need to strain or twist to reach the bar. You then want to get the correct amount of steering line slack. You're aiming to get a slight bow in the steering lines with the bar fully out at the stopper like this. This steering slack means your kite is properly depowered and able to sit at its lowest angle of attack. This bending of the steering lines should mostly disappear when you bring in the bar about quarter of the way. There will be a slight curve to the lines from the air pressure, but not much. That means the kite is now very responsive to steering inputs. Then, with the bar in fully, the kite should not backstall or drift downwind significantly. You can get this right with your trim system. For example, if the steering lines are tense with the bar out fully, then you depower, extending steering lines or shortening center lines. On the other hand, your steering lines might have too much slack, such that you find you can't steer properly even with the bar partially in. In that case, you power up, shortening steering lines or extending center lines. Bar setup will vary depending on the rider's height and reach. A shorter user will need the stopper closer so that they can reach the bar easily after letting it go. This will then mean that the steering lines are a bit more tense at your full reach. So then you will need to depower more using the trim, extending steering lines or shortening center lines. A tall user, on the other hand, might comfortably reach the bar with the stopper all the way out. That could then result in excess slack in the steering. So then they need to power up the trim. Note, a short user can also benefit greatly from using a smaller chicken loop. That shifts the bar's range slightly lower. If that's not enough, then a harness that holds the harness hook lower and does not ride up can really help get the bar's range within reach of a shorter user. After you've been riding for a while, you can then make trim changes for convenience and range of control. You want the bar to be sitting in about the middle of your reach most of the time while you're riding. If the bar sits too far out, near to the stopper while riding, that can be a strain to reach and can limit your ability to push the bar out further in order to fully depower. If the bar generally sits too far away while riding, trim for depower, then the bar will sit closer. If the bar sits too close while riding, that can limit your ability to suddenly power up the kite when needed, such as when launching a jump or needing to speed up. If the bar sits too close generally while riding, then power up, and the bar position should then sit further out. Your trim will change with wind speed. Stronger wind forces the kite to sit with less angle of attack. This then tensions the steering lines. You might find that you no longer have adequate steering line slack with the bar at your full reach. So then you'll need to depower in order to get the required steering line slack with the bar out. Conversely, in light wind, you'll end up with a bit more slack in your steering as the kite sits at a deeper angle of attack. Try to trim the kite as explained at the start of the video to make sure that you have steering slack with the bar out. You might be tempted to make the steering lines more taut in light wind, reasoning that this will give you more angle of attack and help you get going in light wind. However, in light wind, pulling the steering lines too taut will slow down the kite and greatly reduce its force, or maybe even make it backstall. If your kite is slow or backstalls in light wind, then you actually need to depower. I hope this video helps you trim your kite correctly. Please comment your trim questions below.